Welcome, everyone. This is Maria Christina Owl for another episode of Wise Women Dialogues on Full Disclosure and Ascension. And I'm so happy to have a dear sister, high priestess, teacher in her community, and wise woman, Darshania, with us. So I'll speak a little bit about Darshania, and then I'd love to have you take it. So Darshania, I met years and years ago. We were both exploring awakening and the awakening of human consciousness. And Darshania lives in St. Croix, US Virgin Islands. She is a Sonic Priestess, a healing artist, a mother of four babies, and a writer, author, and a muse, that's for sure. Darshania has guided hundreds of Kemetic Yoga trainings, ritual workshops. She includes sound healing. She performs all over the world. She collaborates with amazing communities, organizations, and other artists. And one of the ways that you serve your community is working with young girls around self-esteem, around awakening. And some of her collaborations include Girls Inc., Regina's Door, and Queen Hippie Gypsy, among others. She has a book out called Fertile, and this is her poetry and channeled messages, and it is absolutely beautiful. Her music is beautiful. And this is, Darshania, this is an amazing time on the planet.
Yeah.
So much going on. I feel like there's a lot we could just dive right in. So where I'd love for you to begin with your sharing is, for you being what I call you as a high priestess in your community. You're somebody that is a guide. You are a counselor. You are a leader in your community in so many ways. Because of a lifetime of experience and transformation of your inner work, that you have really done so much inner awareness work to bring you to where you are today, especially so many initiations and rites of passages with each of your babies, and so many different, it goes on, and this has brought you to this place of being able to hold sacred containers for transformation for your people. So tell us what happened for you the minute you realized that this was more than just a kind of localized to China, or just China and Italy, or just China, Italy, and Europe, and suddenly it was this kind of pandemic was spreading across the globe. What happened for you?
Well, thank you, first off, for the introduction. And I'm honored to be here, and I even asked to be here because likewise, I have been watching your growth, expansion, your leaps, your communications, your sharing, your light worker boot camps, and just always feel really blessed to have the reflection of kindred spirits and women really doing the sacred work in a way that's not always mainstream advertised as well.
Right.
And knowing that, we're doing the grid work, and it's not always promoted, and it's really important and sacred in that way. And I would have to say that being in the US Virgin Islands, we are kind of a bit in a bubble. And so most people here are really just farming, and we don't have a lot of major stores or anything like that. We have one Kmart, and one shopping center, and St. Croix in particularly. St. Thomas is very busy. It's more the touristy kind of island, but we're the agricultural island. So I wasn't hearing a lot about it, I'm going to be honest with you, until I actually went on a trip to St. Thomas. And I had heard in March, about it coming to the US. And we kind of, I guess, rally around like being a tropical island, you know, it is seen often that like we'll probably have less of an impact because of the weather, because of the nature, the natural resources around. Everything's not stacked on top of each other. We're very spread out, kind of thing. So there's a measure of social distancing kind of in place a little bit already. But I went to St. Thomas to actually go teach two workshops. And as soon as I went to the airport, it hit me. It was on the speaker everywhere, the TV. I mean, it was just like, oh wow, this is really going on. And the announcements over and over again over the loudspeaker as you're sitting there. And then I can feel like everyone's kind of like tension, like they're watching you. If you have a little cough coming out your mouth, they're kind of like, you know, looking around. And a lot of people were just looking at their phone, like looking at the news. Somebody was talking about it that was sitting next to me, like by the food bar, and they were like taking shots, like, oh, we might as well get this alcohol in because it helps with corona, you know, like, and why not, you know, like get the stress off. And I mean, to fly to St. Thomas is like a 15-minute flight, but it was felt like, wow, I'm going through all this just to get to St. Thomas, which is like not so far. And so, yeah, we got on the plane and I then decided like, I should cover my mouth. Like, you know, I'm seeing people and I'm like, okay, you know, people seem kind of interesting. So I kind of just took my shirt and was like, you know, on the plane like that or whatever, which sometimes I do anyway, because I'm cold, because the plane is cold. So when I got off, I thought St. Croix was giving all the information. Wow, St. Thomas was even more like just the like redundant over and over English, Spanish, you know, talking about the coronavirus, like just repeat as I'm waiting for my ride. And I'm like, oh, this is like more intense than I thought it was, I guess, you know? And so I went on to have my like 3-day trip over there and do teaching, and that was all fine, like what was going on. But I do recall like things starting to shut down. And because St. Thomas is such a tourist destination, there was definitely a more level of like fear going on, because there's people coming in there, like thousands of people. Sometimes they have like 9 cruise ships in one day.
Oh my goodness.
And yeah.
You just have one, like maybe 2 a week.
Right, exactly. That's like St. Croix. So there was definitely a level like that was, I could feel something building. That's all I could say. Like, and then when I got back, like literally that next day, they were like, schools are closed, you know, like this is it. And I'm like,
right.
Oh, wow, I don't even feel like I had time to land from my trip. And I was feeling very floaty and blissful. I'm going to be honest. Like, I was like very excited to go back to St. Thomas. Like, wow, these people really love this. And they're asking me when I'm coming back already. And they like made an extra class for me because some people couldn't make it. And so I was feeling a lot of love. I was high in the love vibes. And like, then I just came back to what felt like a really kind of hard landing, I'm going to be honest. And it was kind of like shocking. Yeah. Because they just like announced that the schools were closing and it's happening tomorrow. And it's like, okay. So it's basically.
What's this about? Was this like in March, like in later?
March, it was March 15th.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was like I came back and that next day they announced that school was closing. I didn't send my children to school even that day. I was like, well, if school's closing, why am I going to send you today? Like, what's the point? So that was, you know, kind of the wake up for me, because I'm like, if they're closing public school, which is my children's first year ever going, and all the schools on the island, like this must be something pretty serious, you know?
Right. Right.
And then within like a week's time, yeah, where I was teaching, the studio I was teaching closed, and then everywhere else proceeded to just like start to shut down. Yeah. And it was interesting. I just realized that one of the places I teach never even contacted me. Like I teach at a resort that's pretty like high end here. I'm the yoga teacher, like, and people come do private class. I was like, they never even communicated with me. Wow. I haven't even talked to them.
Interesting.
So I'm I'm guessing it was just shocking to them too, and they're just like, we got to do what we have to do. But yeah, we do have a level of a tourism industry. So
That's right.
we see the effects in that, I guess, because this was like our high season before hurricane season.
That's right.
So this would have been the time when everybody was coming that was going to come to St. Croix right now. And so it just like whoop, diminished down. And
Right. Interesting.
yeah.
Yeah. We had our major tourist season just end on Big Island. In Hawaii, it's like the humpback whale season is through kind of like mid-April. So people were leaving like a month early, and it's such a bizarre thing. Like all the snowbirds, from Alaska, Canada, and the northern states who come and have a second home or a condo or do a long rental all through winter, and everybody's leaving early. Like it was like the population of Big Island went down by 2/3. I mean, it was so quiet. And I can tell you that what I witnessed is the Hawaiian people in particular became they like really went into what I witnessed went into their very deep, channeling of the land and their responsibility to the Aina here. And they just like blocked off the sacred sites, the beaches, and would not let people in before the beaches were completely closed. And then the state parks closed, and then the beaches closed. And there was just this sense of incredible quiet. And yet, it's like on Big Island, we've been swimming the whole time. We've been going down and swimming and taking walks the whole time. And we've been, really kind of, there's just like an understanding that, it's like, we're all okay. You can go do your walks. We'll look the other way. And, people are still on the headlands fishing, and the kids are still together in groups playing off the piers, and so the main thing that we've noticed here is that very few restaurants are open. All the little touristy stores are closed. The gift shops, the artisan community has just shut down, obviously, and then of course, like we have all the big stores in Kona. We have like the Costco and the Walmart and the Home Depot, and so there's the lines with the 6 feet apart. You have to wear a mask and all of that, but yeah, so it's interesting how I know that Oahu had a very different experience being a big city.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure. Yeah. I guess I would say that it wasn't after that happened in the schools and then the businesses started to close down. I had to really start to think about like, what am I going to do? And then I feel for a lot of the parents out there, oh my gosh, that are at home with their children, and whether they're working or not, like either way, it presents its own challenges, from thinking about how you're going to make money to now I have to try to juggle all this stuff around this situation. And they call it homeschooling, but I don't really think it's homeschooling because you're like utilizing someone else's curriculum that you have no idea what was going on. Like you're helping with your children a little bit here and there, whatever, with their homework possibly, but you're not in class every day with this teacher, like seeing what they're doing. And then you're kind of like having to take over from wherever they were at. And it's like, I have no idea what you were doing here. Like, so I think it also presents its challenge as well. And like here, our teachers were finding a lot of times, it took a long time for them to like get online.
Right. Yeah. I've heard that across the board, having to learn how to teach online.
Yeah. And my children, none of them, like my youngest one that was in pre-K, he wasn't interested at all. Like he didn't want to sit in front of the computer, nothing, so I was like, I'm not forcing this. And then my other ones still haven't even seen their teacher online yet.
Oh, wow.
Like they've had no contact verbally or in a facial kind of recognition way with their teacher. And so I think they're really having a challenging time, these teachers, because I asked them, like, when are my kids going to talk to you? Like, you were with them all year. And they just want the work. That's what it seems like. And they're also just facing their own whatever's at home. Hold on, my son is calling me. Of course.
Yeah, no problem. All right, we're back. So can you, like, what happened for you on a spiritual level? What did you start to access or have intuition around when you realized kind of the grander scale of the situation?
Well, I saw this I heard that though it was an accident, it wasn't an accident.
Right.
And it was kind of like we were planning this, but it wasn't exactly for this time. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. So in ways we should be kind of grateful, I guess, because whatever was being planned didn't have as much momentum behind it. That's what I'll say.
So did you when you went into meditation, you received that information?
Yeah.
That's exactly what I received. Exactly. I heard the word it was prematurely released.
Uh-huh.
Wow. Okay.
And then I had even a friend that like confirmed that too. Like she did a channeling and she actually had seen like a scene where she said it was Donald Trump was going back and forth with somebody like, it's all your fault, da, 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 da. And like they were kind of bickering, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, okay.
Okay.
And then I just like look for what could be the opportunity in this, I guess is what, you know, where I often like to travel to. And what feels real for me, you know, what feels like maybe I want to dive a little bit deeper into researching that, or is there, people, beings or messages coming through that need to be shared, or are they just for me personally? Because I just noticed that like a lot of people instantly want to start sending you like, oh my God, look at all this stuff. And I'm like, what? Every single thing I'm like, what is this? What are you sending me? Like, I want the precursor to the video you're sending me. Like,
Exactly. Yeah. I want to know who that reporter works for.
Right. I'm like vetting everything first, you know, and I'm like, I get it. You're trying to be helpful, but like, I definitely had that feeling of like, this is what we've been preparing for. This is what we, you know, do all this sacred work for and have our tools and our rituals. And this is why I decided to move to a tropical island and plant my own food. And, you know, like I said, kind of living to some extent of this social distancing situation. This is why I looked to have work that was online as well as in person, like all these different things that I saw just like set me up for this exact moment. And at the same time, it felt like it was propelling me to even pivot even more with my business, which I know some people be like, what? You're thinking about your business? But yeah, it's like, I had been receiving all these messages to like have more online programs and offerings and all this stuff and get to it and do it now. You got to have these different things. And I'm like, I was developing them like to be released in May. We're here now. And so I'm like, okay, I'm getting the message. Like, because now everybody's online.
Yeah.
So it was very interesting. And then like having to hear some of the like, I guess I have less feelings around, oh, how do I want to say this? I have less feelings than I used to around information that is delivered to me. I can now receive information and feel kind of like, that's it. It's just information. It doesn't need to be processed emotionally or like, right, I'm sad or I'm happy about it. It's just kind of like there. And so I was having a lot of moments like that where I was experiencing information coming to me about how this is not true, what's happening with the hospitals and the numbers of deaths and the numbers of people infected, and how that is all relating to money, and how they get more money when they report that these people are dying from this, and how it feeds more fear, and how the energetic entities feed off this fear and it feeds them. And so I was getting all this information. I think for some people, if they get that information and it's new to them, like that can feel kind of defeating, at times, like, whoa, like all of this is happening, like you can feel jarred. I think my man told me he was looking at a sign the other day and it said like symptoms of coronavirus. And at the bottom, he said that it said new confusion. And he was very like, what? Like, that's a symptom? I guess everybody probably has this thing.
Okay. Yeah.
He's like, I'm confused. And I said, you should have took a picture to see that sign. But he was actually at, he does a lot of like working with plants and stuff. So he was landscaping at like a gated community. And I guess this was a sign they had at the front. I don't know.
Wow.
It is wow. So I've been receiving information about that. And even higher is just like, we really need more leaders to step up now. We really need people that have been like closet spiritualists and closet ritualists to really come forward and like lead their community, their family, themselves, whatever. Start with yourself first, I would encourage that. And then your immediate family, if you're at home with children or your loved ones, and really come step up to serve. Like, we need more leaders, and
yeah,
I'm supposed to be training them.
Yes.
That's something else I got. And I'm like, okay. So
yeah,
a lot of so much messages. And sometimes I tell them just, I need a break. Okay. Like, because sometimes I think I need more time to process it, but I think that's my own personal thing sometimes. Like, everything's not to be processed, right? Some stuff just comes straight through and you're like, you just have to act on it. Like, I think before I used to hesitate more, like, oh, I need to process that for a little while, but it's like everything's moving in like this really successive speed. And it's like, okay, that one came, okay, that one came, okay, follow that, okay, follow that. And I'm like, okay, wow, like I thought I was doing a lot before. And simultaneously, I had signed up for these different school business trainings, like a women's business entrepreneurship program at Cornell University online, and also signed up to do quantum healer training. And so I signed up for the business online when I thought my children were going to be in school, right? And so I'm like, oh, this is starting now. This is so interesting. But it's like all this information has been coming to me about business, finances, and I've been sharing a lot of this information with artists and, self-employed people that I know and stuff like that. So it's been very catalyzing in a lot of ways in my life. And it's just like, okay, you need to do this now. Like, I was redoing my website. They're like, okay, just like do the basic that you need to do to get it, the next one started up. Like, don't get all like in your mind, like you want it to look this way and that way and
right.
have all like,
yeah.
It's like, put the basic stuff out. All right, let's go.
Yeah.
And for the bigger collective of people, I just feel like the continued message of, we're going to get through this, this is not the end of the world. It's the end of the world you used to possibly know or participate in.
That's right.
But now you have the opportunity to sit down. I think that the whole collective called this forward because everybody is tired and burnt out and like still won't sit down and take a break.
Right.
Like, as many people I know is like, oh, I'm so tired, but I have to keep going. I just have to keep going. I just have to keep going. And it's like, now you have that time to sit down. What are you going to do with it? Really looking at how you can utilize this opportunity to, hey, do something maybe that you wanted to do, or just organize your house, or just hug yourself more. I mean, whatever it is.
Yeah. You know
Start
what's
a new hobby.
interesting is, when I think about those two scenarios of, on one hand, it feels like things are accelerating, where it's just like, even like the cycle of like day and night. I feel like I'm constantly like going to bed and waking up and going to bed and waking up. Like, well, how can this? Didn't I just wake up? And didn't I just go to bed?
Right.
Like so strange.
Yeah.
And then on the other hand, it's like without, if you're not in a service industry where you continue to go into work and you are in quarantine at home, maybe with your family, or on your own, some people, then it's like all this space suddenly, and like considering where we were, where it was coming from the scrambling, it was coming from the survival, and we were like tired and wanted that break, yet it's like, there's no time to take a break. Like, I need this project and this project and this responsibility and these responsibilities. And it was striking me like this week, I've been really contemplating this, like, wow, I think what was really exhausting us was the knowing that we were plugged in to a matrix that was bleeding us dry, that was sucking our life force and feeding off of us, and that we were like swimming upstream constantly, and now there's like, there are these opportunities to have a little bit more spaciousness, yet at the same time, spiritually speaking, we have more resource coming in. And in the last 2 months, the number of arrests, the number of trafficking of everything, rings that have been wiped off the face of the planet, like there's been a lot that was bleeding humanity dry that is being removed. And it's almost like, okay, we can actually do way more than we thought. We actually have way more capacity than we thought.
Right.
When we aren't being predated upon or vampirically like used, so to speak.
Yeah. I remember you mentioned something earlier about like when this first kind of was going on, and like how you could feel like the silence, like I remember going outside and being like, oh wow, this feels so nice. Like there's something very serene and like calm, It's already pretty calm here. I mean, I'm in a beautiful paradise.
Right.
But it's a different kind of, like, it was the collective calm. Like,
right.
People are actually, someone's laying down right now. Like, someone is actually resting. And the earth is resting too, and like being like, woo, finally, y'all got off me for a minute. Like,
right.
Thank you. And then finding, like you said, I feel like so many people were like in this, like, I know this isn't exactly aligned with how I want to live life, and this doesn't feel right. This doesn't feel good, but I just have to keep going. I can't even stop to contemplate how I would start over or how I would do this. And then it was just like, well, we're going to help you out real quick. And then that's where the beginning of, I feel like, the opportunity comes to sit with ourselves and start asking the bigger questions, and it's like, you don't have to, I like to encourage people. It's like, I used to be very like all or nothing, like, oh, I want to transform my life, I'm going to transform everything at once, like just full on. Like, I want to go exercise, I'm going to ride a bike, I'm going to take a kickboxing class, I'm going to do yoga, and I'm going to go to the gym, like just like straight in. I don't, maybe it's the Scorpio rising in me. As I said, you want to do spiritual work? Let's dig in with a big shovel, dig it up. I want to get all the way to the root of that. No, we're not there yet. But I want to encourage people to just like start small, this is just the beginning. And when you're born again, or even when you're in that gestation period, right, you have that nice time to just kind of like take your time to discover what you want to actually create now. And it doesn't have to be like, oh my God, I need to do all this stuff while quarantine's happening. It's like the quarantine or the social, time to yourself is just that opportunity to stop now and reflect on, well, what kind of a life do I want to create from here? Excuse me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Go ahead. Okay. Because
Yeah.
I think sometimes it's like, like in the beginning, I felt like this, like, oh, you need to do this, you need to do that. And like people were feeling like, oh, you need to be very productive in this time. And sometimes productivity is just like resting.
Absolutely. Yeah, I completely agree. And I feel like that really has been an invitation of my higher self to me, is just to slow it down and listen.
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean, we really are unplugging from a lot of limiting patterns and old habitual ways that the old paradigm kind of got us in these addictive,
Right.
relationships with these survival, a lot of adrenaline, a lot of cortisol and stress hormones pumping through our bodies constantly, because we don't feel that our highest good, our best interest, we don't feel that our country, you could say, or the structure of human civilization cares about us or is holding us up or has our back.
Mm-hmm.
And so then you're really in this place of, in the trauma triangle, perpetrator, savior, victim. And it's just like, well, the powers that be are perpetrating the people. We can't trust any, like, or you just give up and you're just like, what? This is just what life is.
Yes.
We're just these slaves, just deal with it and get your little paycheck. And, I mean,
but our deeper inner knowing is calling for something bigger, because we know that deep inside, and it's like the most way that we can affect. Here he comes again. I love him. Yes, dear.
I have something to say about that. And I would love to talk a little bit more about awakening of our consciousness during these times as a catalyst. Could you begin by just talking about your own kind of personal journey of self-awareness and what you are perceiving this journey of awakening is right now? And is he right there?
They're back.
Okay. He has wisdom to share.
Well, they're always challenging my yogic path. I love it. And I feel like we're at a very pivotal moment in the possibility of many outcomes. And there is opportunities to be in multiple timelines. Like I can travel back and see like where we came from, and I can see one possibility or two possibilities of where we could be going. That is dependent upon the choices that we make to face our shadows. That is dependent upon our acceptance, our admittal, and responsibility in doing that work. That's really important to move up into those higher realms of light. And I think that there has been a lot of fear around that, because it was not looked as something positive or pretty or of benefit even, possibly. We just kind of label and want things to be delivered in a certain package. And I like to say that something in my throat. Um, there's many ways to get on the path, but the destination is usually the same. And so just because one path of awakening doesn't resonate with you doesn't mean that there's not one out there for you. And do not be discouraged by hearing something that maybe doesn't align with what feels right within you. Keep going. And there's an inner knowing within you that will tell you when it's right. They'll be like, ding, and you'll be like, okay. Even if it feels completely uncomfortable, even if it like takes you to the depths of dark anger, pain, you'll know like I'm going through all of this for something great. And I liken it to think about here on the island, like a lot of young children have these memories of, well, they're older now, Saturdays with grandma and like her feeding you the cod liver oil and the bitters and all the yucky stuff that you didn't want to take, the senna, you know, and all this stuff to wash you out, right? And it was like, oh, that's so gross. It's disgusting, but it was medicine.
Yeah.
And this medicine now has prepared you to have a stronger immune system, to have a stronger physical being that can now operate at a better functionality than possibly people that didn't have those experiences as a child. And so we have to really learn to embrace all the tastes of life, the bitter, the sweet, the sour, the salty.
Pungent. Yeah.
Yes, those pungent things, it gets in your nose, you're like, ah. And I only can speak this from my experience. Like I can only speak from the experience of going all the way down in there to come back out and be like, ooh, light, yes. And the appreciation that you will even have for it more because you did that work, and like seeing it expanding in your family life, in your business, in your community, like your one little choice person being to awaken affects us all. And so, you know, I was often when I was younger, I was very much exposed to the Black Panthers and the Nation of Islam, who I also still have a lot of respect for because they created their own system. And it was a liberating system for people of color. If you don't know what that is, for Black people in particularly, they had their own newspaper, they had their own ways of eating, they built their own businesses. And it was very empowering for people that needed to step away from idolizing something that didn't look like themselves and looking for a savior that didn't look like them. I think it's very important for you to feel like liberated with your God entities, your deities, your beings, with all different kinds, but especially ones that resonate with what you are here looking like in this physical being. Mm-hmm. And so crime would happen, Black on Black violence, and, you know, these kind of things in our community. And I remember when I started shifting away from wanting to blame society and being like, we really need to do our inner work. Society and this world is just reflecting to us how we're treating ourselves. So how are we treating each other? How are we, you know, like you hear all these relationship things like, oh, you have to teach someone how to treat you, or they'll only treat you how far you let them, you know, like, and that's kind of where we are right now, is like, how much are we giving to ourselves and empowering ourselves? How much are we loving ourselves? And I feel like in turn, when we do that, we're going to witness a whole new societal structure that's going to support that. But we forgot, you know, we kind of got programmed into these things. And it's okay to admit that, you know. It doesn't make you a bad person. A lot of people were in groupthink and all these different kind of things going on, and that was the agenda, you know. And some of our ancestors didn't feel strong enough to to work through some of this stuff. So here we are doing the work. But it's like with each one of us awakening, when I do the work for me, I do the work for my daughter. I do the work for her children, you know, and it's like, don't ever think that one person can't make a difference, because we have great leaders that we have looked up to and seen make a difference with just their one voice, their one light. And I like to say that, you know, Amma says to light your candle in the darkness. You know, your one little flame is still going to light up in that room of darkness. And we want to be shining like the sun. Like the sun isn't, it doesn't discriminate, right? The sun doesn't come out and go, I'm only going to shine to those people that are being good over there, or those ones over there. It's like, I shine, I am the sun, and I shine light everywhere, you know? And it's like, that's why it's such a powerful force. And so with this consciousness that we are having access to right now, like you can access it right now. It's not even like you have to do a whole long work. It's really available right now. It's really cool.
Absolutely.
But I also see that there's some people that are going to choose to still try to scramble on and hold on to what was the old. And I have to be okay. We have to be okay with that. Like, we are not here to save people, you know, people that are willing and wanting to put in the work and wanting to open up their hearts more and be that light for us. Those are the ones who are going to come forward and will be, you know, your friends, your clients, your family, whatever that is. But there is going to be some people that choose to just stay in the matrix, that just choose to operate in that frequency. And it can coexist within this other place too. Like, they don't have to cancel each other out, you know? And I think that's one of the biggest things that right now, like for my own life, that I'm seeing in this thing. It's like, on my side, I'm waking up like, woo, you know, this feels liberating. This is great. And then someone else is like, oh my God, I feel like I'm under control. And, you know, like, they're trying to do this, that. And I'm like, those can both exist. You know, those can both exist. But what we are learning is to accept differences, to accept that's where they're choosing to be. And that's okay. It's not a right, it's not a wrong, it's just their choice right now. Maybe that's what they came to do. We didn't all come here with the same mission and purpose.
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like what you're saying is so important. Like, we each give ourselves permission to be authentic in our own personal response to the present moment and to the events around us, our environment out here, but also inside. And if we tend to the present moment of what's happening here, then we can be examples, you know, rather than like pushing ourselves and our, it's like, if we don't like other people's agendas being pushed onto us, why would we do that to others and go out horizontally, you know, injecting our life force out into other people that they didn't even ask for it, you know? And so it's like, but what we can do is just be, and just like, here I am, and you know, be an example by the way that we make our decisions, live our life, love people, our kindness, our generosity, the choices we make. And one thing that I've been witnessing, you know, just a few days ago, there was a few protests around the country, around the nation. Right. We had one in Kona. There was like 10 of us. Just because our governor locked us down till the end of May or something. And we've had, I think, like, we with Wyoming and Guam, and I mean, we've had the least amount of cases of all 50 states, you know, so, right. And so we're like, you know, come on. And so I felt so, I mean, it was raining. We're on like the freeway. Of course, the freeway is small, but right. There are signs, you know, saying question everything, you know, on the sign. And I was just glowing. I was so happy. I was just smiling. We're like in our tank tops. It's raining. Like, yay, you know, like I, if anybody wanted to come up to me and say, like, who do you think you are protesting? What are you protesting? You know, I felt completely 100% grounded, calm, and at home in my values, in my
Yes.
research, in my personal experiences, that I could have easily just not lost myself in that communication, and I felt so much joy just marching up and down 6 feet different but distance
Yes.
between all the protesters. I felt so empowered and so full of joy. And I'm like, I'm so glad we came, and just added our bodies to this, whereas Orange County had 3,000 plus people.
Right.
And that was a much more kind of bizarre experience in California,
Yes.
and other places had these protests. But part of what strikes me is that, it's like the inner work and the outer work are connected, right? It's like the inner
Yes.
work leads us to what I like to say. It's like if we are clear and clean in ourselves, and we are that clear channel for our own soul to live here 100%, then we will always be guided to be in the right place at the right time with the right people doing the right thing.
Yes.
And we will know if we will be able to track the incongruencies of my values versus what I'm being told, I should value, or
Yes.
told to follow these instructions. And if those don't line up and actually feel harmful, or not in my highest good or in the highest good of the children, then I'm going to make a decision based on that's my responsibility to make a decision, so that when I transition out of this particular form, I have the knowing that I always or did my best to live in integrity or walk my talk. So for some of us, we may find ourselves drawn to participate in the external environment in a way. And it's like that's what the marches with Martin Luther King, with Gandhi in India, the people standing up for what is happening that is out of balance. It's out of the harmonic of the laws of nature and the laws of the universe, right? That's all I have to say about that.
Are you sure? No. I felt like there should have been like some kind of a
Call to action.
Like I was hearing a tuning fork, or like when you said harmonics, like something just like, I don't know, something like turned on, like ding, like that was very interesting. I completely would say yes. And I would say that's also what I could find is that I have more of a calm. Like I have more of a calm, a very like assured security, and like, yes, this is how I'm feeling. This is my belief. This is how I want to live my life. It's not up for debate. If you are interested to hear about it, sure, but it's not like I'm telling you to convince you to change yours, or many of the different things that I've been witnessing on social media. Anyways, I like to call it the hive mind. That's why I play around with it. Sometimes my man thinks I'm crazy because like I go on sometimes and I'm like, okay, today's my day. And I'm like, all right, let's see what's going on out there, Facebook, and I'm like, okay, scroll. Oh, I'm going to respond to this right here and see where that goes for a little while. And then I'll be like, oh, this is quite interesting. And then I'll play around with it. I don't know, like every 3 weeks or 4 weeks or something. And then I go, wow, this is really where some of humanity is. Like, that's kind of what I use it for. It's a little marker because I don't watch the news or anything like that. And like I said, we're kind of in a bubble here. So
right.
There's often like this, like, oh, I didn't know people thought like this, or I never even considered that was an option. And now I'm learning that is, so I find it more of like a gamey type of thing when I'm on there. But then I also realize some people take this very seriously. And so because you can't translate through text writing, sometimes that gets lost in translation. I'm like, oh, I'm just talking to you how I would in a conversation, but you're like, you're being annoying or you're being jerky or, like whatever. And I'm like, but you don't hear how I'm saying it because I'm typing. And I would say this to my mom, like, it's not anything different that I wouldn't say to somebody I loved, but you don't know that because you don't know me. We're online. So, but I find it very empowering to just feel that more and more that less and less, we don't have to look to people to understand us.
Right.
We just need to know ourselves and understand ourselves, and that like unlocks a brilliance of stuff in there. One of my teachers, my Kemetic Yoga master, actually said something like, we do this stuff to begin on the never-ending path of self-discovery.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, never-ending path of self-discovery, because you get to one point and you're like, oh, this is where I'm at now, but then like you're gonna grow and things are gonna change and you're gonna refine, or you're gonna be in a different season where this feels more in fun and alignment. Oh, maybe I don't like that anymore right now, And so we don't have to be too even attached to like our personas or like the avatar you've made yourself to this point today, because that's also changing. So I would even encourage you to like think about what your future self looks like, and what kind of foods do they eat, and what kind of housing do they live in, and what kind of cool futuristic ways are we utilizing technology and energy and water, and how are these great water sources coming forward to us now?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. I agree. Like that's the place to be. I love that. I love thinking about envisioning in detail, like with
Yeah.
all my senses, what the
Yes.
future, what I want the future to be.
And I think that that's what's brought us to where we are right now. Like I remember, wow, this is 2020, at least over 11 years ago, finding out about more sustainable ways of living, and well, shoot, even like 2005. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
and like really feeling called, like, I want to live like that one day, like I want to grow my own food one day. I want to be in a place where I can be in this beautiful ocean, like all those things. And like now being here and actually being able to see like, and when I got more into it, definitely like helped to manifest it, especially the ocean part. Like I would just sit and watch the ocean on a video screen on YouTube. And I'd be like, I'm gonna be there, like, and then one day it finally just was like, okay, now's the time. Like
Yeah, totally. That's how it happened for us as well.
But I definitely dreamt of those like encounters with dolphins, and oh, I want to see the whale, and always just remembering like such a connection with the water in general.
Absolutely.
And the elements are a great way to assist you in this time. Oh, I want to talk about that. I want to talk about how working with fire, air, earth, and water is something that can really assist people with just like, if you are like sheltering in place, or, maybe you're more in like a condensed environment, like a city or something like that, how you can just utilize those elements daily, or even just take one and work with it within a day, like water, and just like have very much consciousness with your water, like how you're drinking it. Maybe when you're showering, when it's washing down you, like, saying some prayers, giving thanks for it. Like we really are going back to remembering how much the earth is giving us all the time without asking for anything but that honor and reverence. And so you're going to feel a lot more calmer when you are connected with your elements, and when I say that, I just mean like very basic, like light a candle, look at the flame for a little while, if you do have access to a fire pit, sure, make a fire, or just like write a list and burn it up of things you want to get rid of. Wind, do some breathing, do some pranayama, or do some, nostril breathing or something like that. but really look at how you can utilize the elements, because sometimes we are just maybe not as conscious that like, oh, these things are nourishing and nurturing us daily, and they're all needed in order for us to get what comes into our mouth when we're eating or drinking.
Yeah, absolutely. I know, right? It's so true. In the Law of One material, the raw material by L&L Research, those channeled works they just changed my life. And one thing that Ra describes is like, as we evolve through the densities, they call them instead of dimensions. The first density is the elements. You know, it's like the first density, or density 1, Earth, is basically an elemental Earth. And then there was, and I mean, and this is like, I don't even know, billions and billions and billions of years of traveling through this one density Earth. And then there's an evolution and ascension of the whole planet into second density, which here come the microorganisms, you know, the unicellular beings who then, you know, connect and create multicellular beings. And they're very much, their whole experience, the lesson of second density is being. It's being.
Yes.
Being. Here we are being. Everything is present time. Everything is motivated by the moment, responding to environmental, you know, stimulus, you know, and bacteria and viruses and whatever. It's just like, here we are, everybody. And then that eventually opened into higher and higher orders of nervous systems and, you know, creatures, until there was like this lush planet full of nature beings and four-leggeds and winged ones and reptilians and everything. And then, boop, you know, here we are in third density after billions and billions of years exploring second. And third density is like so much faster than first and second density, because we accelerated it to learn a lesson, you know, and that we are, it's like we have first density in us, we have second density in us, you know, we have our mitochondria is bacteria inside of our cells that are completely other than us, but they're in us, and they help, they totally bring us health by being in us, you know. It's amazing, you know. And then the earth, air, water, fire that you just named creates us, and it's just like, we literally are everything. And if we're ascending now, if we're going into a fourth density expression, like the love, the amazing experience of third density is crystallizing in us now. The positivity of what third density, all the positivity and the lessons and the wisdom of third density gets to crystallize in us now, you know. So
moving from carbon.
Say again.
Moving from carbon.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. Say more about that.
Well, you said crystallize, and I just know that like we are evolving from a carbon-based being into a crystalline being. And like, I feel a lot of times when like there's light showers or whatever people want to call that, when I'm like, this feels like a day when a lot of light's pouring in. I just feel it like, and then sometimes it kind of puts me out for a little while, because I really feel like now they're like, okay, lay down. You need to get this. Because if you're moving around, you're not necessarily going to get it the same way. So I want to say that my guides or my higher self now knows, and it's like, oh, it's time for that, you know, receive this now. And so like, I'm usually laid out when those things happen, and then someone else will come and confirm it later, you know, like it's my own personal news source. I don't know, like someone comes around, oh yeah, that's what happened, you know, like, and I'm like, oh, that's what that was. Yeah, I felt that. Or literally I'll just get the download, like, here comes a lot of light. We're literally crystallizing right now. And as we move away from like the carbon, we'll have more access to, travel with more speed and with more clarity, because we won't be so dense, you know. That's like what you're talking about. And so it's really exciting.
It is exciting.
I find excitement in that, and maybe it's like my my preparation, because sometimes you feel like you're being prepared, but you don't really know what it's for all the time, but you just know, like, I know something's going to happen. I was talking to a friend in New York, and she was like, I'm like, you were prepared for this. Don't you remember you were talking about this stuff in like 1996, and she's like, yeah, but I didn't think, I was going to see it in my lifetime. I thought that was going to be my children. And I'm like, well, what do you think he was being prepared for? It was you that was getting the information, not them.
Right. Yeah.
So it's pretty beautiful to have, I guess, this chance to be alive and here for it, and then choose to really be here for it. To really choose consciously, like, okay, I'm here and I'm here for it. Thank you, dear.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. So Darshania, I would love for you to bring us forth into what is next for everyone viewing this now and in the future, with a prayer, a blessing, or whatever you'd like to share. And then if you could let people know how they can stay in touch with you.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for all of you who are listening, who are citing our intimate conversation. And I'm so proud. This is actually feeling like a bigger download is coming right now. I'm so proud. You guys have made it. What is it, you might ask? Well, that is completely up to you. Whatever it is that you choose, please know that you are loved. Please know that whatever got you to this point right now where you are receiving this message, this channel, this download, that you're safe, that it is okay to start again. It is okay to admit things that maybe you were afraid to talk about before, that there will be a group to support you in this new way of life that you're interested in pursuing, that you not let anything stop you from living with an open heart. Let no thing stop you. There is only love, and we can choose to receive our lessons from this moment forward in a more graceful, in a more easeful kind of way. We are all here in support of you. All you have to do is call on us. We are your support system, your angels, your guides, your ancestors, nature. Please bring us an offering. Bring us an offering from your heart at your favorite tree when you are able. And make a new covenant with yourself that you will value yourself, that you will find enough value in who you are, that you will be able to say yes to those things that are new and expansive and abundant, and no to those things that do not feel aligned with how you want to move forward in your life. You have access to us. We just need the permission. We are here standing by, and we love you. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
And I'm currently on Instagram at Darshania, Darshania. My website is the same, darshania.com, and same on Facebook, so it's pretty simple. And I have a group on Facebook that I would like to invite you and you would enjoy. It's called Lightwork Tribe. And so in that group, we do many different fun exercises, meditations, there's weekly readings, and a lot of great free content for you that is curated by me. And I invite other people to participate as well. And so that is, on Facebook, Lightwork Tribe. And that's about it. Yeah, I look forward to serving you and servicing into my community more with my gifts in the future. And if you are interested in anything that is maybe you have a question about or that I talked about today and you want to know a little bit more, yes, reach out to me. Send me a message. I am available for those who have questions. Thank you.
That's so great. Thank you so much. And I will post Darshania's website and the Facebook group title here and in the notes of this YouTube video.
Awesome.
So she is available. I am so glad you were available to chat with me today on Wise Women.
Oh, and I should say with my music, you can just enter my name and it's on Spotify and all those kind of things you guys use.
Yeah, and I listened to some of your beautiful spoken word and music on your website as well. And it's just so clarifying and uplifting. Talk about an assisting harmonic for the crystallization of our our bodies and minds, and it's like, woo, that's great.
Yes, thank you.
So I'm so honored to know you. I'm so glad you're in my life, and to know that you're out there in the Atlantic and I'm out here in the Pacific, and anchored down the love and the oceans. And take care of yourself, your beautiful family, all that is good. May it flood down into your lives. And
thank you.
Thank you so much.
Receive and reflected.
Okay.
Yes.
So thank you everyone for joining this episode of Wise Women Dialogues on Full Disclosure and Ascension. And we will see you next time.